years ago, I was going through the lowest time in my life. I had difficulty relating to myself, to others, and no matter how much I achieved, it never seemed to give me the peace and the happiness I was looking for. I remember in the middle of a cold January night, I had what seemed to me like a nervous breakdown. I had finally hit my threshold of pain. It got me to a place where I realized that something had to change. I didn't know what had to change. I didn't know how I was going to change it, but I knew that if I continued to live my life the same way, it was going to be a bad end. So I started to do the work. I read many books, I watched many videos, but honestly, everything changed for me when I found out about two things: attachment theory and nervous system regulation through mindfulness, meditation, and breath work. Found out that I had an anxious attachment style, and honestly, that discovery, it was an eye-opener. It was life-changing because it helped me realize and understand why I was feeling that way. But more importantly, it helped me start moving in the right direction. At that time, anxiety was affecting all areas of my life, especially my physical health and love relationships. So when I found out that I had an anxious attachment style, I finally discovered why I was living in fight or flight mode 24/7, driving myself crazy and my body out of order. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how I went from being hypervigilant, anxious, and terrified of abandonment to feeling a deep sense of safety and peace with myself in as little as 90 days. I started feeling the initial signs, especially in my physical health, in probably the first 30 days. Of course, I'm not promising you anything here. I'm just sharing my personal experience for inspiration. But honestly, I know that this is doable, especially when you show up to yourself, you commit, and you do the inner work. Now, one thing I want to stress before we get into the details of my personal experience is that secure people are not immune to pain. Actually, they don't even try to avoid pain. They know that it's not healthy and it's not even possible to avoid pain. They know the pain is part of the human experience. So for me, being secure, it does not mean that I will never again experience anxiety or insecurity, but it means two things. One, I'm going to experience these emotions less frequently, which already happen. And number two, more importantly, is that I will have the tools and the skills to be able to handle these emotions when they come up. So the first thing I learned from this nervous system regulation practice is self-attunement. Self-attunement is being aware of my own internal emotional states, needs, and sensations with a sense of curiosity, acceptance, and compassion. This taught me to take my attention from the outside world of my environment, my circumstances, people in my life, events in my life. Point this attention instead to my inner world of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, perceptions. People with anxious attachment learned since childhood to be in tune with the emotional state of their caregivers because these people were their primary source of love and safety. So they paid attention to the energy of the outside rather than to how they're feeling inside. That's why they grow up with their compass pointing outwardly to their partner, constantly trying to get their approval. They learned to get their sense of safety from their partners as their primary attachment figure, rather than from paying attention to their inner needs, prioritizing their well-being. The anxiously attached old version of me did not feel worthy because she did not win the consistent love of mommy or daddy when she was young. So as an adult, she tried to get that from her partner's companionship. But unfortunately, of course, and that's a very typical pattern for people with an anxious attachment style, is that, again, I ended up with someone who is inconsistent, emotionally unavailable. So unfortunately, the same narrative was repeated again, only to confirm back to me my self-perception of being unworthy and being unlovable. That's why when I started doing the inner work, I realized that no one in this life has ever abandoned me more than I have abandoned myself. And honestly, when I started this practice, I was scared of my feelings. I think the scariest thing I've ever done in my life was sitting down all by myself in a dark room, eyes closed, with headphones in my ears, playing calming music, breathing through my pain. And I did that every day, at least 30 minutes, most of the time, way more. I have continued this practice since January 2019. I haven't missed a day since. Not saying this to brag or to make you feel bad about where you're at in your life. Quite the opposite. I'm sharing this experience with you to inspire you to do the work and to tell you that this is going to be the most rewarding thing you can ever do for yourself. And in the beginning, know this, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to do the work. So it's going to take courage for you to show up for yourself every day and to do this practice, regardless of how hurt you are, regardless of how scared you are. But after a while, it's going to be this incredible source of humble pride and inner peace that nothing and no one in this world could ever give you. There were so many days in my life that I just wanted to run away from myself. Wanted to run away from that, from the pain, from the fear of being abandoned, from the fear of rejection, fear of disappointment, from the anxiety, and more importantly, from that inner critic who never seemed to shut up. The more I did it, the easier it got, and that inner critic gradually softened into a more compassionate voice. I mean, it could be critical at times, but definitely not as toxic or scary as it used to be. One thing that I want to mention here is that if you're going through a difficult time in your life, the longer you postpone doing the work, the harder it will become and the longer it will persist. I learned that the fastest way to get out of a storm is to go through it. That's why I'm encouraging you to do the work sooner than later. Now let's talk about the second thing I learned from nervous system regulation, becoming the source. As an attached child, I learned that my caregivers, my parents, they were the source of the love and the safety I needed to survive. Years go by and my adult version is still running by the same operating system. I have practiced the anxious state in my mind and my body hundreds of thousands of times without even me realizing that I was doing it, until it became the blueprint of how I related to myself and to others, especially in love relationships. So I had to unlearn that. I had to relearn that I am the source of my emotions, that no one and nothing outside of me can make me feel a certain way that I don't want to experience. I know that when I let this happen, I give my power away. Every day, I consciously choose not to give my power away to anything or anyone. I had to teach my body that I am the source of love. I am the source of safety. And that I'm no longer that scared, anxious little girl who's waiting for mommy or daddy to make her feel safe and loved. Every time I sat down, every time I put my hand on my heart and I generated that feeling of love, safety, wholeness, abundance, it was me teaching my body that I'm no longer that scared little girl. Every time I did that, I was conditioning my body to my new identity, the secure, confident, high-value woman who knows her worth. One thing I want to mention here is that I don't blame my parents whatsoever for my anxious attachment. I have all the compassion, all the love and respect for them. I know that they did their best with what they had, and had they known better, they would have done better. But more importantly, I know that it is my responsibility now as an adult to make myself feel safe, loved, and at peace. It is my responsibility to take care of myself. Now let's move to number 3. We experience emotions physically. And that's why nervous system regulation, it's a daily practice for me. It's like going to the gym to keep your muscles strong. I knew I had to do it consistently. I really wanted to condition my body to a state of peace, to a state of homeostasis. Of course, this doesn't mean that I don't react or I don't feel bad. I do, but it comes and goes. This is like feeling bad or having a difficult moment or reacting to something or someone. It's not consistent. It doesn't stay with me. It's not my identity anymore. So what I learned is that secure people are secure for a reason. They do things differently. They have different and healthy habits of thinking, feeling, and behaving. So my daily practice, it's like a reminder for me. It's like a reminder for me that being secure, it takes work. It's like being healthy. You gotta go to the gym, eat good food, take care of yourself, get good sleep. And because now I know that I am valuable, I choose to give myself the gift of time no matter how busy my days are. I mean, I'm telling you, in what, like 7 years? I haven't missed a day. There were days when I was so tired, so exhausted, so busy. I still did it anyways. Really hope that this video inspired you to do the work to become the secure, healthier version of yourself. Let me know in the comments if it did. There's also a link in the description below to book a discovery session with me to go deep on where you're at to see if I can help you with a roadmap to get there faster. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.